Welcome to Season 2 of the Lipoedema podcast, hosted by Shell and Tiana. Our aim is to make noise around lipedema and educate as many people as we can about this disease.
Our guest list contains professionals who work in the field and women who live with lipedema. Thank you for joining us. Kate Anderson's journey into alternative health began 2 decades ago, sparked by a personal injury. As a Bowen Therapy practitioner, she is fascinated by its unique healing abilities. Kate's ongoing education explores fascia science and movement efficiency. Founder of Your Body Revolution, she addresses the rising health epidemic, offering holistic treatments with a dedicated team. With a focus on natural health, the family-run clinic comprising cryoskin technicians and massage therapists provides non-invasive solutions. Kate's commitment to lifelong learning and her compassionate nature drive her goal of sharing healing benefits with clients. Please welcome Kate Anderson from Your Body Revolution.
Welcome back to the Lipoedema podcast. We are your hosts, Shell
and Tiana, and today we are joined by Kate Anderson. Welcome, Kate. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me, ladies.
So we're going to start straight away, Kate. And how did you come to learn about lipedema?
Well, interestingly, I came to learn about it about 3 years ago, but I have been doing body work for like about 12 years, so it's surprised me that I didn't know about it prior. But it was through Chelsea Jean that I first learnt. But I do Bowen Therapy. I have a clinic where I do Bowen Therapy. And I just seeing coming through my clinic a lot more chronic illness. And even though Bowen's a great modality, I wanted to offer my clients a little bit more in the way of immune health. And so I registered and went and trained with Chelsea in her lymphatics, manual lymphatics drainage. And that's where I first learnt about the lipedema. And then I went on did a practitioner's retreat, and 2 of the ladies on the retreat had lipedema. So I spent 4 days with these beautiful ladies and I just learnt so much. It was really, really interesting. Yeah, so then we've put the lymphatics in our clinic, and we have our beautiful clients that come in with lipedema now, and yeah. So
well, I'm just going to reverse for everybody, because Kate and I actually know each other. We grew up in Geelong together, and we had the same friend group. And I've spoken before about how I came to learn of lipedema, but it was actually Kate had reached out to me like the month before I heard about lipedema, because she'd done all this stuff with Chelsea, and so she reached out to me because I've always had terrible gut issues. And so Kate reached out and started teaching me the Chelsea gene sequence, and then it was like 2 weeks later I found out about lipedema, and I've gone back to Kate and I'm like sent her videos of my legs saying, what do you think? And she's like, oh yeah, I think so, mate.
I know, and I don't know why I didn't even click when you came in. But it's, it's also I'm getting better at actually bringing it up with clients now that maybe this is something that you could look into. And it's great now because I can send them to you guys in the podcast, and I know so much more now to be able to offer. Yeah.
Well, we've spoken about that before with other people, like how do you bring the subject up? You've got to be so tactful, because it can be received so many different ways. Like when Tiana and I found out about it, it was almost like liberating and empowering for us. But for other people, it could be, another thing? Like, really? Yeah. So it is, you've got to be really tactful, don't you?
Yes. Or even sometimes young people that might be in a little bit of denial and not ready to accept that this is something that they might have, or Or even I have a like a elderly more. I have a but yeah, that it's like, what's the point now? Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah.
And sad because they have so much
Very,
more life to live. But if
very.
you're in that place, that's a really dark place to be in, I suppose. Anybody who's
I
listening, if you're in that place, please reach out to someone because you have so much more life to live. And there are definitely some things that can help your lipedema if that's what you're suffering with.
Yes, there is.
But Kate,
Thanks
I
to
have a
you,
question for
ladies, and
you about Bowen therapy. Can you please explain to me what it is? Because it feels like it's so many different things all wrapped into one, and I'm just so
yes.
curious about how you would describe it.
Okay, so Bowen is a soft tissue therapy, but we work in the fascia, the connective tissue, um, to resolve problems. It's like very remedial, but it's where we work with the body as opposed to trying to force or manipulate change. So in our fascia, we have receptors that communicate between the brain and the body and the muscles. So, for example, when you move your arm, you think your brain sending a message to the muscle, but it's actually sending a message to receptors in the fascia or in the connective tissue, and then that sends the message to the muscles, which are the workers. So, where we do our moves in Bowen, is where there's lots of receptors. So we're putting in a communication to the body to say, to the brain to say, come down to this area, check out what's going on. And if there needs to be any changes made, then the body can start making those changes. Yeah.
That is fascinating, isn't it? And because like lipedema is a connective tissue disorder.
That's
So,
right.
and in the fascia, that's pretty fascinating. Do you know, I haven't actually heard it spoken about within our community. So this
Yeah,
is another
neither.
avenue.
Yeah. Look, I've been thinking about it since I was going to come on the podcast, how does Bowen fit into this? And there is so many ways. For example, I was listening to a few podcasts of you girls, and Tiana, you had your surgery and talking post surgery. Now, fascia, the connective tissue is it's a collagen fiber throughout our whole body. There's no beginning or no end. There is trains to it. So, for example, you might hear someone talk about the superficial back line of fascia. So it starts at your forehead, goes right down your back and all the way down the back of your legs and finishes at the top of your feet. So if you work anywhere in that train, then you can impact anywhere from head to toe. So I can release someone's hamstrings and that might get rid of their headache because it's on that superficial back line. But if you have things like surgery where you've cut into the fascia, then that can block the communication and the flow of interstitial fluid and lymphatic fluid through the body. So with Bowen therapy, we can do scar work, for example, to soften the scar and soften the adhesion in the body to help the flow of the interstitial fluid and and even our blood flow. So you think of scar, but think of lipedema in your body that's blocking all that flow and all that everything that shifts around our body.
Yeah,
So
because I kind
fascia
of
is,
liken lipedema to a type of scar tissue, though I know that it's not. It's fibrotic and hard, and scar tissue, if I'm not mistaken, is also quite, hard and it's different. And so it sort of
yeah,
needs a little bit of extra work, I suppose, to get everything moving and flowing correctly.
it absolutely does. And obviously you're never going to get rid of the scar or completely the scar tissue, but if you soften it and hydrate it, then you can change the way that everything moves through it. So, and that is exactly the same with the lipedema, and that's what you girls are doing with your compression and the the MLD and everything is softening that connective tissue. So with fascia, you can make change in your body, but how is it described to me once? So think of yoga, right? You go and do yoga, and after about a month of doing yoga every day, you get more flexible and you're like, I'm really good. I'm feeling more flexible. My body's moving better. Then you go on holiday for a month and you go back and you're right back to where you started. You've got to begin again. When you start training your fascia, it will take longer to train. So it might take up to 6 months to get a different change in your fascia, but it will be more permanent. So, yeah.
So when we speak about fascia, can you explain to us, like, because we speak a lot about, our skin, our fat, our muscles, like, what is the fascia? Like, what part of us is that?
Oh, all the in-between bits. But
Okay.
I've got a really good way to describe it. You think about an orange, okay? So the orange has got the skin on the outside, and then you peel the skin off and it's got that white pithy bit.
Mm-hmm.
That's fascia. But then you open it up again and it's got a segment. So the segment's got that filmy bit around it, fascia. And then you open up the segment and it's got the little balls with the filmy bit around it, fascia. So you could describe that's like a muscle fiber, right? So even though fascia's in all the space between our organs and muscles and tendons and ligaments, it even is infiltrated through our muscle fiber. So it's everywhere.
That's a really good
Wow.
explanation. That's a really good visual for us as well,
Yeah.
because it's not just
And
one thing.
Do you know what's really interesting? In 20 years ago, they didn't even consider fascia anything like it didn't do anything. It was called a Cinderella tissue in our body. So they even you think of cadavers in wet labs where they are studying in medicine, they cut all that connective tissue off, and because we want to get to the muscles and the bones and all the good stuff. Now in the last 20 years, the research into fascia is just showing that it's so much more. It's our movement, it's our posture, it's our structure, and it's also our feeling body. So they say skin is sensory and our feeling, but all our nerve endings are actually, majority of our nerve endings are in our fascia. So a guy, Robert Schleip from Germany, who started the first kind of research into fascia, mapped the nerve endings in the fascia, but he redid it again over COVID, him and another guy, and they counted 250 million nerve endings in our fascia. So they went into the deep structural stuff this time too. So you kind of think, when you're in danger or something and your body senses that you're in danger before you see it or hear it, that's everything in our connective tissue that's giving us these signals. Yes, it's amazing, isn't it?
Isn't it?
Very.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the fascia and the lymphatic system, how do they interplay with each other? And then how does that sort of impact on our lipedema?
Yep. Okay, so the fascia kind of contains everything in our body. So our lymphatic vessels will be structured in our fascia. So I was looking at this today to see how the best way I could explain it, because, you have your lymph fluid that runs through your body, but then we also have interstitial fluid that runs through our body, both containing white blood cells, or, your white cells that your immune function and everything like that. But your lymph runs through the lymphatic vessels, and the interstitial fluid runs through the fascial part of the body. So it's both shifting fluid, and it's both needs movement and breath, same as lymphatic, to move and shift that fluid around our body. So it is really, really similar, but the fascia is a lot more abundant and has a lot bigger communication system. So the lymphatic is just focused on our lymphatic system and getting rid of waste and getting rid of toxins. The fascia is more shifting the interstitial fluid around our body, but it's also nerve endings, and they even say our emotions run through our fascial system as well.
I guess that makes sense when in terms of like your emotions feeling physical in some way. So like stress feels very physical and it sort of is like up here. It's where you hold your stress up in your head and your neck and your chest. And like sadness feels very heavy, like in here. It's sort of,
yes,
it's sort of making sense to me the way that you're describing it, because you emotions are very physical. So it makes sense to me.
Yeah, and a lot of times in a Bowen treatment, there will be an emotional release from a client, and sometimes they'll be like, I don't even know why I feel like this, but it could be a trapped trauma or emotion that's been there for a long period of time. So once again, going back to the lipedema, think about what might be getting trapped in these areas where there's no flow of fluid that's getting through properly, and it just becomes trapped and there's emotion, there's trauma, there's all kinds of stuff. So it's very, very interesting.
I remember going to yoga once and the instructor actually warned us, like, this next move will make you emotional. I'm like, what's she talking about? And as soon as I did the move, I was just like sobbing. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's real. It's real.
And those feelings held in your body, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is the thing too, what I wanted to talk to you about fascia, because this is going to be really important for the lipedema as well, is hydration. Okay. So fascia is a collagen fiber, so it's a wet substance. Now, if you have a restriction in your body, that lipedema, we would call that, we can class that as a restriction. Or if you say you can't just turn your head to right or left like that, and you go, oh, I've got sore muscles, like my neck's hurting. Do you know what I mean? Well, it's not necessarily sore muscles. It is dehydrated fascia that is surrounding the muscle or the structure that's preventing it from moving. So the dehydration is not necessarily caused from I haven't had enough water to drink. Dehydration can be caused from overuse, underuse, or repetitive use, which is the main one. Mm-hmm. So things like doing Bowen therapy rehydrates the fascia, and that helps the structures underneath move as well. But also what's really important is mineralization of the body. So we can drink lots and lots of water, but if we haven't got enough minerals in our body, then it's still not hydrated. So you can test, you can kind of pinch your skin and see how slowly it should just bounce straight back. Or you can push in on your arm and it just should bounce straight back. So if it's not doing that, then you're not mineralized and you're not hydrated. So it's really important when you're doing all your lymph work to make sure that your hydration, or that the mineralization of your body is really hydrated to help shift all that through. Or you're just going to get the dehydration of the fascia and that's just going to stop it.
That's really interesting because sorry, Shell. I was just thinking about like diet pills and those kind of pills that take all the water out of your body, like the water weight, things like Duramine and diuretics. And you know, when we're having a flare up in our lipedema, it feels like a lot of fluid. And I know that I've had diuretics before and I've been on Duromine before, and the water weight goes first. And I think to myself, oh, I've just lost almost like 7 kilos in water. Like, fantastic if I just need to drop some weight. But you're actually saying that there's minerals and nutrients and all of that stuff in that water that we need, right? And we're actually dehydrating ourselves, and we're not doing ourselves our bodies any service.
No. So the hydration is really important. And you can just, we just have a sea minerals in the clinic that I put someone on, or Celtic sea salt that, is really popular now, or a fulvic acid, that it kind of has the minerals in an ionic form that's the same form that's inside your body, or, hydrolyte. You can probably get better than hydrolyte because it's, if you want something a little bit more natural. But the hydration is really, really important. And then you think about this weather that we're in. It's really humid. We're sweating. So that is definitely a part of it. But also the main part of it is normally like our working life. So we spend 8 hours plus a day doing the same thing over and over again, whether it be sitting, whether it be standing, whether you're out building, but you're still repeating these actions. And our body wasn't really designed for these long periods of just doing the same thing over and over again. And that's a lot of what creates this dysfunction in our body. Yeah.
You also, sorry, I'm just trying to get it all together. There's a lot of information happening tonight.
I know. Sorry.
No, it's amazing. I'm fascinated. So you said the hydration that we need isn't necessarily like we have to drink. That's why we're dehydrated. But we do need to hydrate properly with minerals, make sure we're getting things in there, and then also make sure that's getting into our fascia. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's correct. Okay. But even having a bath, an Epsom salt bath, or bath in diatomaceous earth, because diatomaceous earth is silica. So, our skin and our everything thrives on that. So, that's another way to get it in. I love having a bath.
All of those spa therapies that you pay hundreds of dollars for is kind of making sense now why you would go and do that. Different ways to rehydrate and remineralize, eh?
Yes. That's a good excuse to go and have a spa treatment, isn't it?
Yeah, it seems like it.
I can jump on board.
Yep, me too.
Right. Any excuse for me.
So, Kate, you wanted to talk about the role of sympathetic dominance and how it plays into lipedema. Can you explain what that is for us?
Yes. Okay, so and here's another thing that dehydrates our fascia is stress. So we have our autonomic nervous system, which is made up of our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So in life, our body will shift in and out of the nervous system, and they say, fight, flight. When you're in sympathetic nervous system, you're running from the lion. You're back in the day, or you're frightened for your life, but then that's over, and then you shift back into parasympathetic. What's happened now in society is because we are constantly overstimulated, we are in fight, flight way more than what we should be. So our body's lost the ability to shift in and out of that nervous system automatically, or it doesn't recognize the environmental factors that say it's okay to be safe now, or it's okay to be to shift. So when you're in sympathetic dominance, not only are you in your fight flight response, your immune system shuts down, your digestive system shuts down, and your reproductive system shuts down, because you don't need that when you're running from the lion, right? So if you're having long periods of life in this state, then you're going to wreck your gut health. Everyone's got thyroid problems. Like chronic illness is just epidemic, really, if you look at autoimmune and dysfunction in our body. So I do believe that this would be a cofactor in lipedema as well. I mean, we can look at genetics and go, yes, it's genetic, but you can have that gene and not necessarily get the outcome of lipedema. So I have a celiac gene, but I haven't got celiac disease. So genetics are really interesting, but there's a whole other lot of factors that contribute to what triggers us to go into the path of disease. And I think that the high stress that we live in today is a really, really big factor. So you'll see lots of stuff out there now where they're talking about dysregulated nervous systems and different ways to treat the body to bring the nervous system back into that parasympathetic or the rest and digest. So once again, even if I'm in a Bowen treatment, we do a move that's under the ribs and in kind of the solar plexus area. And quite often I do that move and straight away the stomach starts rumbling. And I'm like, fantastic, your digestion just switched on. You've just switched into parasympathetic. It's perfect. But another really important thing about this is when you're in fight flight, you can't heal. So your body will not heal while you're in sympathetic nervous system. You need to be in rest digest to do the healing.
That's really fascinating and kind of problematic too, because I'm thinking about going through 2 surgeries last year and the stress response you get just from like after surgery. And, you know, I was tracking it with my smart device. You know, you get lots of different health markers, regardless of how accurate it may be. You do see that your resting heart rate definitely stays up for a few months, and your stress response sort of stays up for a few months. And you're like, oh my goodness, like any other type of stress in my life other than just recovering from surgery will just tip me over the edge. So we can't hide from it, but we have to try and manage it in some way.
That's 100% correct. And the fact that you can go into the surgery and know that that is a response that you have had after your last surgery, you can maybe start preparing yourself a little bit better for that. And how am I going to mitigate that stress? Obviously, your body's going to have a response regardless, just because it's we're putting it under a lot of strain and pressure from having the surgery. But how can you mentally prepare for that, and how can you navigate through that stress system, and what stuff can you put in place to make that easier on yourself, so your body can focus on healing and not, I guess if you can mitigate the environmental stress so your body can just focus on the healing part, then yeah. But if you know it, you can prepare for it. And there is lots of things you can do. There's lots of, and it doesn't have to be big. It's not like you have to go and, do piles of courses or do this or do that. You can really regulate your nervous system quite easily. Breath work, and something that came to me not long ago too, going through perimenopause as a woman and everything, and not sleeping and everything that goes with that. And I go to bed and I'm putting on my yoga nidra and I think, oh yeah, this is good, I'm going to do my meditation to go to sleep. And then what I learnt was, no, you need to be doing this stuff during the day, because your body just doesn't shift out of your nervous system at night time. It's shifting in and out all through the day. What you're doing is just teaching them to do it at night time, which is not what you want your body to do. So it's better to do 5 minutes of breath work, 5 times during the day, than to do 1 hour of meditation at night time before you go to bed.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Small steps, I suppose.
Yeah, or just go, if you're at work, just go and sit on the toilet and just shut your eyes and just breathe and just focus for a minute, And then
just mindfulness, hey, just
it
taking
is.
in your environment, thinking about what you're grateful for, just getting all of those little things in place and bringing yourself back to the now. And I found that really powerful when I first started this journey, like just like practicing gratitude. I was like, oh my goodness, it had such an impact on my overall health, just being grateful for what I have instead of being on autopilot all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
Absolutely, Shell. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, what's that 5 thing? You know, what can I see? What can I smell? What can I hear? You know, yeah.
I
Just
find that
bring it in.
really, really helpful, a helpful tool when I'm just, I've used it for myself, but I've also used it for my kids when they're just out of themselves and like, it doesn't work with tantrums, but if they're just really upset, and not trying to, like, there's no power struggle, but if they're just really upset, I use those strategies. What can, 5 things that you can hear, 5 things that you can see, and it's amazing how quickly, because they're thinking and they're in the present and they're listening and they're looking, and I find that really amazing. It's a great tool. But I'm a
You're just
sigher, so
switching.
I feel like I don't breathe. I breathe shallow, and then, probably every 5 minutes I'll go, and I'll just take a deep breath. And sometimes it sounds like I'm sighing as in there's something wrong. And at work, I have people going, are you all right? Stress all day? And I'm like, no, I forget to breathe. Like I must be so like this all the time. So that's one of my things, is I just take a big sigh every now and then, probably more often than I should.
No, that's good. That's you self-regulating. I think that's really good. It's definitely more problematic in women. I had this I had this man lie on my bed one day and in the clinic, and I'm like, oh, men can always just come in and lie on the bed and relax, like no problem. And he goes, yeah, do you know why? And I go, no. And he goes, see that fan up there with the screw on it? And I go, yeah. He goes, well, I can just look at the screw. I go, what do you mean? And he goes, well, I'm not lying here thinking about what do I have to do, what about the shopping, blah, blah, blah. He goes, I'm just looking at the screw. That was such a foreign concept to me. Like, you know.
I'm so jealous.
Yeah, me too. It's funny.
If only it was that simple,
I
hey?
know, right?
That sounds
I
amazing.
remember going for acupuncture and I just wanted to rip those needles out. I couldn't lay there any longer. There were so many things I needed to do, and I was like having a panic attack because I just needed to do other things. I couldn't just lay here anymore.
I know. So I've got to get better at just being able to lay there and not have the guilt associated with, oh, I'm not doing anything. I should be doing something. I'm, and I hear that all the time. Like, or if I'm not doing anything, I'm wasting time. No, you're not. You're giving your body a break, and you're self-regulating, and we've got to get better at that and be kinder to ourselves, and not have guilt associated with taking time out.
Yeah. I'm loving, have you seen the Lazy Boy recliner ad?
No.
Oh, I saw it the other day, and it's like, we're taking back our right to be lazy. And they list all these things. I'm like, yeah, that's right.
Yay.
And they nail it. It's like, the dishes can wait, we're ordering takeout tonight. And it was just like all these things. And it's like, oh, yes, that step back. Take the foot off the accelerator for a minute.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
We also wear our stress like a badge of honor, sort of thing. And I'm trying to go against that these days.
Yes.
Like we always have comments, oh, there's so much on, or I'm so stressed, or oh, I didn't sleep last night, and that's probably not how I want to live my life anymore, and just slow down and not wear it as like a medal.
No more hustle culture. No more glorifying being busy. Oh, that sucks.
Yes, agreed. We can make a whole pact about that.
Yes,
I'm really working on that too. Just stopping, just smell the roses.
Mm-hmm.
Spend time with our family, or just enjoy that, nothingness.
Yep. Yeah. just be grateful for all that we have, all those little things like that the sun rises every morning, like something so simple,
Yeah.
so simple and so beautiful.
Yes. I did 9 days on Moreton Island over Christmas and just did nothing, and it was the best.
Yeah.
Lied in the sand, swam in the ocean. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, the ocean really does that for me as well. It's just something else, that energy that you get from it. And it's like okay to just be.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't think I get that anywhere else.
It's hydrating us too. You can hop in the ocean, it's hydrating us. It's doing what our body needs.
Nice.
More time in the ocean.
Yes.
2024. Get in there.
Sounds good.
All right. We're going to get back to some questions because we're not running out of time because we don't have a time, but we like to try and keep our episodes not too long-winded. So if someone comes into your clinic and they have lipedema, what's your professional approach to them?
Okay, so we have a few strategies in the clinic. Obviously, we do our lymphatic treatments, and we also have Sarah in the clinic who is a holistic nutrition coach. So, she can sit with them and discuss the nutrition side of things. We do offer the food compatibility test. I know you've spoken about that on here before. If anyone wants to go down that path, alignment. So we give them Bowen treatment for aligning the body is really important as well for the flow of all those fluids we were talking about to flow through the body better. I think I heard you, Shell, also talking about your pelvis. You felt like you had weakness in your pelvis that was coming from your lipedema tissue. Makes complete sense to me as a body worker. So maybe you should consider some body work to rectify that, check out your alignment, make sure everything's sitting where it's meant to be sitting, and that might help that a little bit. And
so
then
with body work, you mean Bowen therapy?
Yes. Yep. Soft tissue. Well, I'm going to go with Bowen therapy because that's my favourite. But there's other body works out there. But and also we have this new, and this is probably more going into that sympathetic nervous system part of calming the body down. But we have a vibroacoustic sound lounge in our clinic, which is just my favourite thing. So it's like this bed that vibrates frequency through your body. So you have headphones on, and the tracks have all been specifically composed with frequencies for specific things. And so you listen to the track, but the bed vibrates the track through the body, and it just regulates all our cells kind of move at a frequency, and if you're sick or diseased, then that frequency can be running at a lower vibration.
I absolutely love the sound bath thing. I've only done a couple in my life with those big bowls, and they move the thing around the bowl and it creates this vibration sound that goes throughout your whole body. It is just incredible, and I could see myself doing that as a regular thing for relaxation. It's beautiful. Sound baths, I think it's called. Is that what I said before? Sound baths.
So this is like a sound bath on steroids. It's your own personalised little. And the lady that made this, she had really severe endometriosis, and so that fixed that. But once again, it's like been around since the 80s, and it just takes a long time for stuff to filter into Australia. We're well behind the times in a lot of...
And it depends who finds it too, and if they've got a voice in the community, and whether they, people are listening to them and it catches on. Like some things catch on, you're like, where'd that come from? And then these things take so much time.
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
also think
yeah,
apart from like pharmaceuticals, like natural medicine and body work and things like that, they're the things that you have to do consistently in order to see a benefit. Whereas pharmaceuticals, it's like you can take a pill for, 1 day, 2 days a week or whatever, like short term, and you've got the risks associated with it and you have the downfalls and everything. But the naturals, all those natural things, all those things that we can do every day, we have to be consistent with them in order to see a difference. And maybe that's why that it's not so quick as an uptake, because it's not a quick fix. It's something that um, you need to really commit to.
And you've got to
yeah.
search it out for yourself as well. And there isn't the same support. Like if you don't have private health insurance, you've got to self fund. Whereas going and getting a pill for something, it's usually on the PBS, you get Medicare covered, so it is, yeah, there are too many obstacles in its way, I think.
Yeah, it's a privilege.
Yeah,
It
Mm.
is
that's
a
exactly right.
privilege, but I can tell you now, I have an absolutely busy, thriving clinic and have had for years. And interestingly, I probably have 65% of retirees that come into my clinic and it's probably my demographic in my area, but yeah, they're very open to, well, if they've got pain in their body or something wrong with their body, they're not getting anywhere, or they can't get to see a doctor these days,
Very
you look
true.
outside. Yeah.
So speaking of your clinic, where can the lipedema community find you?
Oh, we're on the Sunshine Coast in Caloundra.
And what's your clinic called?
Your Body Revolution. And yeah, we just moved into a new clinic this year, which was pretty exciting. It was an old doctor's clinic, and we bought it, and we have done it all up, and yeah, it's beautiful. We've got lots of rooms and different things going on. So it's been a huge year for us last year, actually, with all our changes and moves, and yeah.
That's so good to
That's
hear.
super
So,
exciting.
all of our listeners on the Sunshine Coast, check out Kate Anderson and her Bowen Therapy. Is it so? You have a Bowen Therapy clinic, is that correct, or do you do a whole bunch of different therapies there at the clinic?
We have a few. Look, I've been doing the Bowen therapy for a long time, but we've added in a whole pile of other therapies. So yeah, now we're all under the one roof. So you can either find me at Imbalance Bowen Therapy or Your Body Revolution. Either of those will get you to us and our clinic and what we have to come and see us. You'll have to come and check out the new clinic, Shell, and lie
I
on my
will. I
vibroacoustic
will.
bed.
Oh, we might have to do a girls' trip, Tiana.
Oh my
Yes,
gosh,
come on
count
up,
me in.
ladies.
I want to do that sound work.
Yes.
I'm so keen for it.
Yeah, come on up. I'd love to have you girls.
Amazing. Thank you so
Well,
much, Kate.
thank you so
Oh,
much for
you're
joining
welcome.
us. So much information. I'm loving it. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. It's been really good chatting to you, ladies.
You
I'm
You
too.
excited.
Take
too.
I'm
care.
excited for is coming. I'm excited for what you girls are doing, and yeah, congratulations. And I think it's really great what you're putting out there, and so good that we've got somewhere to refer our girls to, and yeah, I love it. Love your work.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so much for
much.
your support.
You're welcome.
Hey, bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
When we started the Lipoedema podcast, we relied on word of mouth and existing connections.
Our following has happened organically, and we are so honoured by your support.
As we learn more about the world of social media and algorithms, we have a request.
When you are listening to our podcast or watching on YouTube, let us know what you think.
Hit follow or subscribe.
Leave us a comment or write a review.
The more engagement we get, the more our message is shared.
And the greater our reach to those women suffering in silence.
Thank you for listening to the Lipoedema podcast. Lipoedema and its symptoms vary from individual to individual. The opinions and advice voiced in this podcast are of a personal nature and used for educational purposes.
Please take away from this podcast what resonates with you, and please see your GP or preferred specialist for diagnosis and healthcare. We are Shelley and Tiana from the Lipoedema podcast. Until our next episode, bye for now.